Share my screen with my audience. Let's see. Hello. Um, mm, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Okay. Hi, I think I'm live. And so my name is Sarah MacArthur, and I am the Democratic chair for Chavez County, and my roommate is harassing me. So, anyway, I bought this book, and it is The Mandate for Leadership, the Conservative Promise 2025. So, some people are calling it Project 25, same thing. And so, I kind of wanted to touch base with people and talk about it and let you know what you might expect if we were to actually have Republicans take over the presidency again and gain control of the Senate. They already have the House, but they've only got it by one vote right now, so that's good news. And so I wanted to kind of highlight this book, talk to you about it. So in the very beginning, the interesting thing about it is the contributors, and there are a number of pages here. I'm going to show you all these pages, and there's about 8 of them. And out of that, they list all these people. They're from the Heritage Foundation, the Center of Immigration Studies, Recovery for American Now Foundation, Ethos, Freedom Works, Center for Studying of Partisanship and Ideology, Office of Congressman Devin Nunes, as though that was a big surprise, American Center for Law and Justice, Competitive Enterprise Institute, National Taxpayers Union, the Niemeyer Group, Keystone Policy, Ethics and Public Policy Center. And when you actually look these up, as I've spent time doing, but the first thing I want to point out is the majority of the people that wrote this are from the Heritage Foundation. And what is the Heritage Foundation? If you don't know, it was run by the Koch brothers. There's only one of them alive now. And they have billions of dollars, and they spend them politically to control things. And so the Heritage Foundation being one of those things. So that's the first thing I wanted to point out. The other thing I wanted to point out was the foreword. And the foreword is written by Kevin D. Roberts. He's a PhD. A Promise to America, it says. And it has the conservative promise. So one of the things, they write 4 things. It says, restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children, which is hysterical to me because, we'll make sure you're born, but after that, you're on your own. They don't protect children and families. Dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. Well, that's also equally stupid since, governance has been by elected representative. So it's not, people don't govern on their own. They vote, and then they elect representatives who represent their needs, their wishes, their wants. And so it's just hyperbole. They want to defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. That sounds good, doesn't it? But here's the thing. If you're going to do that, you have to actually protect the other democracies in the world. And we've been doing that since before World War I. And so to say that we want to save ourselves from global threats and then not support Ukraine is utterly ridiculous. You let a country, a dictatorship under Putin, invade Ukraine, and your idea in the Conservative Party in the last 8 years has been not to support that and to let Putin do what he wants. It's okay. He can have Crimea. He can have all these things. Not okay. It's just not okay. The 4th thing is secure our God-given individual rights to live freely, what our Constitution calls the blessings of liberty. I'm not going to argue with you about religion because, you're entitled to your own religion, and we live in a secular country, so that's not going to work. So promise number 1 is to restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. What does that really mean? I'll just go through the foreword tonight, and then tomorrow or the next Wednesday, I'll go through a chapter. I did kind of want to, before I get into the promises, I did kind of want to break down the chapters and tell you that they basically, they talk about taking the reins of government is Section 1. Section 2 is the common defense. And under that, they have the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, State, Intelligence Community, Media Agencies, Agency for International Development. Then they have Section 3, General Welfare. It's Department of Agriculture, Education, Energy and Related Commissions, Environmental Protective Agency, the Department of Health, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Department of Interior, Justice, Labor, Transportation and Veterans Affairs. Then Section 4 is the economy. And that's Treasury, Commerce, Export-Import Bank, Federal Reserve, Small Business Administration, and Trade. And then they have a plan also in Section 5 for independent regulatory agencies. So financial regulatory agencies, Securities and Exchange Commission, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Federal Communications Commission, Federal Election Commission, Federal Trade Commission, and onward. So they have a plan for every one of these agencies, like from day one, if Trump were to get elected. And they are scary plans. A lot of them call for just eliminating them and eliminating the agencies altogether. And that's not okay. But let me go back to the promises in the forward. And then when I'm done with that, that'll be tonight's little review of what's in this book, which is scary. Promise 1, restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. One of the things that grabbed me, it said, the next conservative president must make institutions of American civil society hard targets for woke culture warriors. And this starts with deleting the terms sexual orientation and gender identity, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, gender sensitive, abortion, reproductive health, reproductive rights, and any other terms used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights out of every federal rule, agency regulation, contract grant regulation, and piece of legislation. Wow. I am stunned by that. They want to just obliterate those ideas as though they're bad, and they're not bad. What they are is they don't, I can't even define how I feel about that. Conservative people don't like hearing about someone that's not like them. And they've been given permission by President Trump in the way he speaks about people to not be nice. And so the next paragraph says, pornography manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology and sexualization of children, for instance, is not a political Gordian knot inextricably binding up desperate claims about free speech. It has no claim to First Amendment protection. Its purveyors are child predators and misogynistic exploiters of women. And I have to laugh because everybody that you see in the news that's been arrested for pornography or a molestation of minors is recent. I'm not saying Democrats have not had their problems, but I'm saying that recently in the last couple of years, you hear about actual prominent Republicans that are arrested for these things. So they want to outlaw pornography entirely. That's what it says right here. That's the centerpiece for American life and protection of our children. So, and I guess when they say protection of children, they don't mean gay children. They don't mean children that suffer from an identity gender thing. They mean only children that look like them and sound like them and that act like them or believe like they do. That's what they really mean. They don't mean everybody. And everybody is who you're supposed to be caring about in this country. So in our schools, the question of parental authority over their children's education is a simple one. Schools serve parents, not the other way around. I'm sorry, that's not true. Parents have an obligation to raise their children so that their children are benefiting the society as a whole. It's not about being an individual. It's not about catering to a parent's wish in terms of what you're going to teach your child. We don't ban books in this country. I'm not valid for streaming. Sorry. Okay. Well, Ray Allen, I will forward this to you when I'm done. I guess. So anyway, I didn't know you couldn't do that. All right. Anyway, I'm getting text messages from Ray Allen. So, schools serve the public community. They don't serve parents individually. If parents are unhappy, they have the right to go to a private school, and you can pay for that on your own. And let me just give you the analogy of paying for school through vouchers. Do we pay for police or fire through vouchers? And the answer is no, of course we don't, because that is serving the public good. Just like a minimum of a high school education and having a broad-based understanding of the way our society operates and runs and is a valid thing to expect from a public school education. If you continue to take money out of the public school education to give it to people who are already going to send their children to private school and can afford to send their children to private school, you're gutting the public school education, and you're gutting our ability to teach children. And is that really what you want? You want an ignorant society so that you can control them? Because that's kind of what it seems like you're going after when you do vouchers and you ban books and you say, the laws that are allowing books to be banned are absolutely frivolous, is the word I can use, because you don't even have to read the book to make a complaint and have it actually the school board take you seriously and remove it. And these are stories that are real and actually happening right now, even under Biden, because those legislators in those states are run by Republicans, and they don't serve us well. The second promise is to dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. Under current law, Congress is required to pass a budget and 12 issue-specific spending bills comporting with it every single year. The last time Congress did so was in 1996. Congress no longer meaningfully budgets, authorizes, or categorizes spending. Well, yeah, when you have the political parties at each other's throats and you continue to keep them that way, and you have politicians in Congress who were elected primarily for their own self-aggrandizement and primarily so that they can block any legislative from happening. This past year has been the worst congressional year of laws being passed, although I'm proud of Joe Biden for the work that he's done on infrastructure and he's done like 5 big bills that have gotten passed, so that's pretty amazing. And that was during the first 2 years when they had control of the House. Party leaders negotiate one multi-trillion-dollar spending bill, several thousand pages long, and then voted on it before anyone literally has a chance to read it. I agree with that. And I think that system needs to be reformed, and it needs to be corrected and fixed so that budgets are meaningfully passed. I'm not going to argue with that. I think that's probably a no-brainer. What they're saying is that Congress intentionally passes vague laws that delegate decision-making over a given issue to a federal agency. And when they say they want to dismantle the state, what they really mean is they want to dismantle federal agencies where experts, people who have studied and know and understand the fields that they're working in, primarily like the EPA or say the oil field or say health, they want to get rid of those people because they don't want experts governing things. They want politicians governing things. And look what's happened in human services with the family issue of getting medical treatment for abortion, which abortion is not a sought after thing. It's a result of having a failed pregnancy. And that can happen in various stages of your pregnancy. Nobody actually honestly gets pregnant so they can go get an abortion. They get an abortion because their pregnancy, it's got a non-viable fetus. And so anything before 23 weeks is not going to survive outside the womb. They just have not developed enough. And they're still a fetus. They're not a baby. And the fact that people think that is disturbing. So when they say that they want to dismantle these things, they want to take out the professionals and the people that understand and know the laws, the agencies that are appointed and supposed to be appointed by senator approval. When the head of the agency is appointed by the president, they're supposed to be vetted by the Senate. And we know that didn't happen in a lot of cases. So Trump used to put acting people, and then he let them run past the 180 days that they were supposed to be an acting person. And so he just ignored the laws. And our senators couldn't get a grip on things to make that not happen. So that was promised too. It's got more crazy stuff in it. Bureaucrats at the Department of Homeland Security, following the lead of feckless administration, order border and immigration enforcement agencies to help migrants criminally enter our country with impunity. Bureaucrats at the Department of Education inject racist, anti-American, ahistorical propaganda into America's classroom. Really? Or do they just teach history and you don't like it? Because that's kind of what I think. Bureaucrats at the Department of Justice force school districts to undermine girls' sports and parents' rights to satisfy transgender extremists. I can't say for sure if that happens or not. It may, but I'm not 100%. And maybe each school district needs to make their own rule on that issue. But I do think that if you've been a man, and you shouldn't probably be competing against women, because your body structure is different. You do have different hormones, and you do have a different strength factor. But again, I'm not the expert on that topic, so I just think that they automatically exclude it, and they don't have any consideration, and they don't think about it for other people, and that's a problem. Woke bureaucrats at the Pentagon forced troops to attend training seminars about white privilege. Yeah, I'm okay with that, because I'm a white person that thinks that we've treated people of color, brown, white, or that look different than us, that act different than us, that pray different than us. I think we act like we're very privileged, and I'm okay with having some sensitivity training on that topic. And why wouldn't you be? I mean, you're basically saying that we don't want to know about anyone else's suffering or anyone else's historical perspective on how this country behaved, and that's not okay. Bureaucrats at the State Department infuse U.S. foreign aid programs with woke extremism about intersectionality and abortion. I have to look up the word intersectionality, because I don't even know what that means. It sounds gruesome, though, right? The third promise is to defend our nation's sovereignty and borders and bounty against global threats. The United States belongs to we the people. All government authority derives from the consent of the people, and our nation's success derives from the character of its people. I have to laugh. This book is talking about character, but they want to. Their candidate for the Republican Party for president is a man that lacks any depth, any humanity, any character. The only reason he's running is to avoid being sent to prison, and the man has absolutely zero character, and has proven that time and time again. But yeah, you talk to me about character. The American people's right to rule ourselves is the obverse of our duty. We cannot outsource to others our obligation to ensure the conditions that allow our families, local communities, churches, and synagogues, and neighborhoods to thrive. The buck stops with each of us, so each of us must have the freedom to pursue the good for ourselves and those entrusted to our care. Okay. Today's progressive left so cavalierly supports open borders despite the lawless humanitarian crisis that policy created along America's southern border. I've been reading this book, and they make statements like that, and there's nothing to support it. It's just a hate-filled sentence saying, oh, the left, creating an other, you versus us. And the left doesn't want open borders any more than the right does. And so the point of the open borders comment is to get you excited and upset, as though the people that are woke want to allow anybody and everybody in here. No, we need to have laws. And you were just handed an immigration law and Border Patrol immigration law with almost all the things that you asked for, the Republicans were. But they didn't vote for it, and they didn't pass it. And why was that? Oh, Trump said he didn't want it because he wanted to campaign on that against Biden. So when you've got your Congress people from the Republican Party who won't even vote on a bill for the betterment of our country, for the protection, for the Border Patrol, things that you're saying in your plan that you care about, but you wouldn't vote on it because it might hurt your presidential candidate's chances and be a good thing for Joe Biden. You're not serious government employees. You're not governing seriously, as far as I can tell. Cheap grace aptly describes the left's love affair with environmental extremism. You know what environmental extremism is? Having regulation, which the right doesn't like regulation, and having regulation that talks about clean air, clean water, and not soiling our land. And when you have to, let's say you're an oil company and you've been dumping oil or dumping byproduct back onto the ground and not cleaning it up and not keeping the land safe, you've killed that land off. Or say that you are a coal mine and you were regulated to have certain filters so that the air isn't polluted, and those things were taken away in the coal mines out in I guess it's West Virginia and Kentucky, and they want to deregulate having clean air so that it's okay if you breathe things that aren't clean or aren't healthy for you. It's okay. We don't care as long as we can make money and more money than we should. We're okay. And let's all face it, water's going to be a problem, and not in the too distant future. Promise number 4, secure our God-given individual right to enjoy the blessings of liberty. Sounds okay. Declaration of Independence famously asserted the belief of America's founders that all men are created equal, and then they allowed slavery. And endowed with God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At the last, the pursuit of happiness, that is central to America's heroic experiment in self-government. When the founders spoke of pursuit of happiness, what they meant might be understood today as, in essence, pursuit of blessedness. Oh, are we changing their intent in their written word? Because originalists, people that are, off of, the Federalist Society and judges and all that, they are going along with this idea that we're a Christian nation. And to be a patriotic person, you need to be a nationalist. No, you don't. You absolutely don't. And because you're a Christian doesn't mean that you need to be a nationalist. There are many denominations of Christianity, and the evangelicals have created this problem. I was always reminded of that statement, Barry Goldwater, in like 1964, 1968. He was running for election, presidential election, and he I think he was a running mate, actually. He said, by golly, Lord help us if, and I'm paraphrasing, Lord help us if the evangelicals or the fundamentalists get control of, the GOP, because if they do, what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is that they won't compromise. That's what he said. They're hard to deal with, and they won't compromise. That's what he said. And wow, you think he was right? Because we don't have a lot of compromise going on in Congress right now. You either believe like I do, or I'm not going to help you get any laws passed. And the whole system was set up on compromise and being willing to work with one another and sending representatives. We need to choose better. We need to send people that aren't extremists. We need to send the people that are going to work for the common good of all of the people in this country, not just the select people that think like they do. And that is the difference. So it's not the pursuit of blessedness. It's the pursuit of happiness. Our Constitution grants each of us the liberty to do not what we want, but what we ought. This pursuit of good life is found primarily in family, marriage, and children, Thanksgiving dinners, and the like. Really? I mean, who are you? I mean, that's an opinion. That's not a fact. That's just an opinion. So people will read this book, and we're still in the foreword. I love this paragraph. This is great. Left to our own devices, the American people rejected European monarchy and colonialism just as we rejected slavery, second-class citizenship for women, mercantilism, socialism, Wilsonian globalism, fascism, communism, and today wokeism. that is a lot to unpack in one sentence. And they weren't left to their own devices. There was a civil war in order to get over slavery. And even then, slavery didn't really end until 1968 in terms of people being held back or not giving the same rights, or banks not giving black people loans, but they would give them to white people, not renting homes to black people, or keeping them into an industrialized area in part of the community versus the nice part of the community because they were black. And so, the answer is that they they weren't left to their own devices. They had to have Congress intervene, like in the 1890s, over child labor laws. Women fought the suffragettes to get our right to vote, and that wasn't all that long ago, 103 years ago. And our country is how old? 230 something years or so. And actually, it's older than that. 246, I think, is what it is. And only 103 years ago, women got the right to vote. I mean, unbelievable. Left to our own devices. No, you weren't. And wokeism, I'm going to define intersectionality and wokeism at the beginning of the next time I go live, which I believe is going to be on Wednesday nights from now on until the end of the election in November, which is 182 days away. So we have our work to do for us. Okay. Okay, let's just talk on they're talking here about the Soviet Empire was a social and economic failure. This is all still in the forward, by the way. North Korea, despite the opulence of its tyrants, is one of the poorest nations in the world. Cuba is so corrupt that its people regularly risk their lives to escape to Florida on rafts. Venezuela was once the richest nation in South America. Today, a decade after a Marxist dictator took over, 94% of Venezuelans live in poverty, and that's true. Even Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders' home state of Vermont was forced to repeal the state's single-payer health care system just 3 years after creating it. I'll have to check on that because I don't know that to be true. There's no footmark, so it's just somebody writing it. When there's a footmark, I've looked them up and checked to make sure that what their source is. They talk a good game. It says, ultimately, the left doesn't believe that all men are created equal and they think they are special. No, that's not how that works. The left believe that there should be universal health care, that we should take care of people cradle to grave, that we should have public education all the way up through college and not have to be in debt 40 years paying off student loans. We don't think that's productive to society or to our economy. It's productive to rich people's bank book, but it's not productive to the people in this community and this society. This book, this agenda, this entire Project 2025 is a plan to unite conservative movement and the American people against elite rule and woke culture warriors. And that's exactly what this book is. There are some really scary things in here I have highlighted. I've got all these things highlighted. One of the things they want to do is change the name of the Human Services Department to Department of Life. I guess if you want to change the name of it, but don't change what they're doing. They write statements and they don't tell you the rest of the story. And so even though this looks comprehensive and amazing and oh my gosh, they have so many plans. And my concern is I hope Democrats have plans. I hope they have some plans to combat this because these things can't be enacted. They want to take away more rights. And I would leave you with this because I'm almost at 30 minutes. Is when a group of people take away an entire half the population's right to medical care, which they keep saying in the book that abortion is not medical care. But in fact, if a woman has sepsis because of her failing pregnancy, that's medical care. As a result, she may end up losing her child. As a result, she may end up losing either her life or her ability to procreate. And those are not good things. And so it is medical care. My question is, why are we allowing politicians to practice medicine? And why aren't we suing them? Because they are behaving as though they're doctors, making rules for women and taking away an entire segment's right to health care. So that's the forward. It was only like $40. So if you want, you can get the book. Um, it's going to be important, and I'm going to try and go through as much as I can. And that was the stuff I wanted to cover for tonight's initial session. And I will pick a chapter each time to go through and talk to you about, or I can even divide them into smaller segments. But I think that's about it. Again, my name is Sarah MacArthur. I'm the chair of the Democratic Party in a very red county, 70% red, Chavez County in southeastern New Mexico. I would love for you to follow me. I'd love for you to make comments and tell me how I can do better, because I'm just spitballing on my computer and thinking about, I really need people to understand what's happening and not tell me that they can't watch the news because they're bad. Not all news is bad. You need to think about, when they say things, is that a fact or is that just garbage? Is that just a statement that has no basis in reality? That's the thing you need to look at. So I would leave you with blessings to your family and happiness. And let's do all we can to elect Democrats to office to try and curtail this slide into an authoritarian rule, because that's what that is. And it's scary. So bye.